Hello everyone and welcome to an introduction to the Pathfinder role-playing game. I kind of covered on this a little bit in my last video, however this is an entire video dedicated to the intro of this game. Alright, so what is Pathfinder? Pathfinder is a role-playing game similar to Dungeons & Dragons. Very similar. It is actually I don't want to call it an offspring, but it works off of the same D20 system as Dungeons and Dragons. So what happened was when Dungeons and Dragons was in the third edition of their game, was currently publishing their third edition of the game, Paizo was a group that was working on a magazine for Dungeons and Dragons. And so when the publishers of Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast started publishing their fourth edition content and not everybody liked it, Paizo, the people that was working on the magazine, decided to create Pathfinder, which is basically Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, but they added their own identity and they started crafting their own content for it. Pathfinder was working on off of something called the Open Gaming License, which allowed people to use some D&D rules to create their own system, and that's basically what Pathfinder is. Alright, so why should I play Pathfinder? Well, first of all, a lot of people, especially with the OGL scandal that happened, I don't want to say recently now, it might have been like a year or two ago, decided to move over to Pathfinder because Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, which is the parent company of Wizards of the Coast, have started to do some scummy practices and all that stuff. And so, why would I want to play Pathfinder from like a gameplay standard or viewpoint? Well, first of all, everything in Pathfinder is free. Now, whenever you hear people say that, whenever it comes to games like Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, okay, yes, they're going to give you enough to play the game. No. Every single thing in Pathfinder, even with new books that drop, all that stuff, so all the standard and expanded content is free online. Archives of Nephits, I think it's called or pronounced, is a supported website by Paizo that is pretty much in the form of a wiki that allows you to view everything. So you don't need to spend any money on this game, and we're going to get back to that in a second. However, also there is a more complex character creation process, more classes, more races, and then more subclasses along with your background, and these all give you like great amazing benefits. So yeah. Alright, so if I want to spend some money on the system, what do you recommend I buy? Whenever it comes to the newest role-playing version of Pathfinder, I recommend having a standard set of role-playing dice, which if you have played Dungeons & Dragons before, then you probably already have, along with both a copy of the Player Core 1, which is on the left, and Player Core 2, which is on the right. I know these images are poor quality. They're screenshots. Alright, how is this game different than Dungeons & Dragons? It has an interlocked history of Dungeons & Dragons, however, it has created its own identity. A great example is they have Goblin as a core race. There are many mechanics that they have swapped up. For example, saving throws are on a easier system. It's Fortitude, Reflex, and Save, or Fortitude, Reflex, and Will. And so instead of that, in D&D you have all these other stats. You have a saving throw for everything, which in Pathfinder it's just easier. Also, you get 3 actions on your turn instead of an action, a movement, and a bonus action, which just makes it so combat and turns are easier. You have more stuff to do, so you can move twice and then attack. You can move and then attack twice. You could cast a spell and then move twice. I mean, certain things have cost more than one action. However, that's just how the game works. Also, feats, the optional thing in D&D, yeah, that's not optional here. Everything in Pathfinder gives you a feat. You are usually going to get 1 or 2 class abilities and then a list of class feats that you get to pick out at certain levels. Same with your race. You don't just benefit from your race at level 1 in D&D. You get a bunch of benefits throughout your entire time playing. Alright, so now we're kind of going to go over the editions of Pathfinder. Pathfinder First Edition. This is the first edition. It was released in 2009 after a lot of backlash with Dungeons & Dragons 4th Edition. If you have played Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, then you know how to play this game. It is very similar. It's basically Dungeons & Dragons 3.75. That's what a lot of people call it. However, it's its own rule set. And it's honestly a pretty balanced game. There are a lot of outdated mechanics, however, which brings us to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This was released in 2019 and then eventually updated in I think 2022 or 2023. I'm not exactly sure. I don't have the best memory, so I'm not exactly sure when that OGL stuff happened. But their entire goal with this new edition was to move away from Dungeons & Dragons as much as possible. So they created their own thing called the Orc license, which allows people to use Pathfinder mechanics, I'm pretty sure, which is really cool. Along with that, they renamed a lot of stuff, reworked a lot of spells. So yeah. And thank you all for watching this little introduction to Pathfinder. If you need to know anything, leave it down in the comments below. Please subscribe. Also, in the comments below, put down any recommendations for video ideas. And I am also working on a Discord server where people are going to be able to get RPG help, find RPG groups, and run RPGs. So if you are interested in that, let me know. Alright, thank you everyone, and bye.